Hello there, welcome to lesson number 7 in our series on using FluidDesigner for 3D printing to create Objet d'art. In today's lesson we're going to show you how you can use a Nurbs Circle and a spiral curve to create a bowl. So if we start FluidDesigner up, if we just go to Learning Projects and Objet d'art, it's lesson number 7, so we'll just drag and drop that onto the workspace. So this is the object that we're going to create in today's lesson. Going around the object is a spiral, and if we zoom in we can see that the cross section of it is circular. The circular cross section we're going to add using a Nurbs Circle. The spiral is, well, it's just a spiral function that's built into FluidDesigner. So the first thing we're going to do is add curve, and then we're going to add a Nurbs Circle. So if we go to add curve and Nurbs Circle, we need this toolbox window open so we can change some parameters in here. We're only going to change the radius, but if we just zoom in first of all, so if we zoom to selected, that's the Nurbs Circle at the moment, and it's got a radius of 1 millimeter, so a diameter of 2. So X and Y are both 2. We want to change the radius to 5 millimeters, so we can do that just by clicking in here, and you'll see X and Y are now 10. So this circle has now got a diameter of 10 millimeters or 1 centimeter. And that's all we want to do with the Nurbs Circle. The next thing we want to do is to create a spiral. So again we go to add curve, but this time we want spirals. So it's add curve and spirals, and again in the toolbox window here we've got various parameters that we can set for this spiral, and we can see the spiral at the moment, it's in the center here. It doesn't look much like a spiral, it looks like a circle at the moment, but that's because we need to change some of the values here. Now there are a number of different spiral types that we can use: Archimedean, logarithmic, spheric and torus. We're just going to stick with number 1, the Archimedean. You can play around with the others later and see what they do and whether or not they appeal to you and how you think you might be able to use them. Curve type, there's poly and Nurb. Well, we're using Nurbs circles here, but we're going to stick with the poly type. That's going to be sufficient for what we're doing here. We just want to use it as a circle basically to wrap around our spiral. Spiral direction, well, we don't need to change the spiral direction. There's only 2, clockwise and anti-clockwise. I've never found the need to change it in terms of 3D printing. Doesn't seem to have much, doesn't seem to me to make much difference. Turns, well, we are going to change the number of turns. So it's the length of the spiral in 360 degrees. Well, at the moment there's 1 turn. If we change it to 2, there should be 2 turns here now, and 3, there should be 3 turns. Well, we can't see the 3 turns, but we need to, before we can see them, we need to change something else first of all, and I'm just going to jump down to radius growth. Okay, at the moment radius growth is 0, so this is increasing the torus radius per cycle. So if we increase that, you can see there's a change now. We can now see the 3 turns. Because what's happening is our radius was set at, well, the radius for this was actually originally set at 1. The initial radius was 1 millimeter, and what we're saying is that every time it goes round, it increases by 0.21. So we've got 1 millimeter to the line there, 0.21 to there, 0.21 to there, 0.21 to there. You add all of those up, you get just over 1.5, double that for the diameter, and that's why you get 3.1 millimeters here. So the gap between that point and the next point there, where the spiral is 0.21 at the moment, and if we keep increasing it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Now we want a radius growth actually of 8, so I'm just going to type that in, and then zoom back. So you can see in this instance the radius growth is quite big. We can now add some more turns in, because we don't want 3 turns, we want 10. So let's add some more turns in. Okay, so there's our object now, and as you can see the dimensions of it are now 158 millimeters, so 16 centimeters. You know, that's going to be the sort of a suitable size for a bowl. The next thing we need to go back one step to steps. Now at the moment the steps are 24. Now if we zoom back in again, what the steps are is, if we've got one turn, that one turn is made up of 24 segments. And so if we've got this, if this number is very small, and I'll reduce it right down so you can see what happens. Yeah, so we've got 6 steps now, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps, so that's 6 segments around the object for one turn. So you get a very chunky object if this number is small. So if you want a smoother object, you need to increase the number of steps. Now in doing that, you increase the number of faces in the object, you increase the file size, but you know, it's all about what is it you want. So we want 100 steps, so that will give us a relatively smooth surface. Okay, so we've set that. We've already set radius growth. I'm just zooming back out again. We now want to change the radius. At the moment it's 1, and what the radius is going to do is the radius for the first turn. So the radius here, this is just 1 millimeter. We're going to increase that, and I'm going to drag this with the mouse. I'm going to hold down the left mouse button and drag it across, and as you can see, if you look in the center there, the hole in the center is getting bigger. So this radius here is creating, it's this radius that we're changing. It's this value here to the first point on the spiral. So we want a value of 80, and so this length here is 80 millimeters. So this gap is 160 millimeters or 16 centimeters. So that's what creates the hole in the center. So if you don't want a hole in the center, you can set this right back down to 1 or even to 0. Now the last thing that we need to change is we need to, well, for the spiral anyway, in these properties, we need to give this object some height. It hasn't got any height at the moment, and the last one does that. And so as we change this value, you'll see the spiral lifting up, and I'll just change it a bit more quickly by dragging it with the mouse, so you can see we can lift it up. And dragging it's a good way of dynamically seeing what the shape looks like, and you can quickly decide whereabouts you want the value to be to suit you. And that's what it's all about. What appeals to you, what looks right to you at the end of the day. Okay, so we've set the height there. So we can actually close this toolbox down now, because we don't need to do that anymore. And the only thing we're going to do now is we're going to add some thickness to this, and the way we're going to do it is that Nurbs circle that we created in the beginning, which is still in the center there. We're going to wrap that around this spiral. And because our currently selected object, our new object, is a curve, there is this icon in the toolbox window. So it's show the curve data information. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a bevel object, which is this Nurbs circle, and that will be wrapped around the spiral. And the only thing that we need to add to that is we need to tick this box here, because if we zoom in, you'll see that the end is open. We need to fill the end. So you can see as I tick this, it fills the end. And the same happens at the other end of the spiral. There would have been a hole at the other end of the spiral, if I can find it, yeah, up here. There would have been a hole there. And yeah, if we just zoom in, so if I remove the tick, you see there is a hole there, but when we tick it, that fills the hole. Now, FluidDesigner doesn't make a perfect job of that, and this is where you must go to Netfab Basic to fix it. If you try to print this object directly from FluidDesigner, you probably have problems. But not to worry. Okay, so now the other thing is, if you didn't want a circular shape here, you could go back in and you could edit the Nurbs Circle. You could make it bigger or smaller. You could change it to a square cross section, whatever shape you want. Doesn't have to be a circle that you wrap round here. But we're just going to stick with circle today. So those are all the changes we need to make. But we need to apply this now to confirm it. And we need to change this spiral curve into a mesh. At the moment this is a curve. So to change it to a mesh, we go to Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh. And when we do that, the curve icon disappears here. We can't make any more changes now. So there's our object. These are the dimensions of it. It's 90 millimeters tall, 325 millimeters across. Okay, so that's our bowl created. So we can delete this one at the bottom now. X to delete. The one we created today, we can go to File and we always go Save As and go up through the menu system and go to My Projects Objet, and you can save Lesson 07, the spiral dish, as a Blender file. And as I've already said, you must go to Netfab Basic with this one. So File and export the wavefront object to the desktop. So that's the printable file format. And oops, taking a little bit of time because there's quite a lot of faces in this object. If we look up at the top here, there are 96,000 faces, so a reasonable number of faces. And if we go to Project and Open and go to the desktop, it's 07 Spiral Dish. We can open that up, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get some problems. Yeah, we've got a warning red triangle. It's already marked here at the end of the spiral, which is what I was expecting. That's just the way FluidDesigner works, but not to worry. If we go to Extras and repair the part, again you can see the yellow marking around the outside there, and same on the other side of the spiral. So if we just move the window across, if we just click on Update, you can see we've got some holes, got some border edge problems, and we've got 3 shelves. Well, the 3 shelves are the end cap here and the end cap at the bottom, that's 2, plus the main body, that's the 3 shells. So if we run automatic repair and execute it, and then just click on Update, yep, we're down to 1 shell now. So what Netfab Basic has done, is stitch on the end caps to the main body. So we've just got 1 shell now, so you need to apply that repair and remove the old part. And notice our warning red triangle has disappeared now. So there's our finished object, and that is now in a printable file format. You just go to Part, export the part as a wavefront object, export it to the desktop, and so the file that you would print is 07 Spiral Dish Repaired, and you save that. Now the only one thing to note is that this is a pretty big object to be 3D printing. If you did check the price of this, it's going to run into probably hundreds of dollars, or even hundreds of pounds. Quite an expensive item to print currently, but hopefully in the future prices will come down. I'm sure they will. Okay, so that's the end of this lesson. Thank you.